The Business Spotlight series. My name is Marcia Erickson, and I will be your host for today's conversation with Mindy Seiffert, the founder and president of Grief and Joy. She's going to be telling us about her businesses, plural, her journey. She has a wonderful story to tell us. Her story, about her personal story, which led her into her journey of ownership. She's going to share the challenges she's faced, the wins she's had, and give us a little peek into her world and what it's like to build and grow businesses. Welcome, Mindy. Thank you for being here for today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'd love to have you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself, your journey, your story, and the businesses that you're building.
Absolutely. Well, I'll go back a little ways. So most of my career has been in entrepreneurial businesses or smaller businesses. The last 7.5 years of my life, I have spent in a large corporation. And also during that stretch of time, I unfortunately lost my husband. We were on a family vacation in Florida, and he passed away suddenly from a heart attack. And that was very, I always say this to people, life-changing. I don't know how else to describe it. Um, and so it took me a good, I'll say, almost 5 years to start to feel a little bit more like myself after that. My also during that time period, I became an empty nester. So shortly after my husband had passed, my kids, I have twin boys, and they graduated from high school and then went on to college that following August. So I always, this is another phrase I use a lot. I was in a grief hole. And so it, so I felt a little bit like I was just surviving. And after having been very entrepreneurial, creative, very driven in the workplace, I started to question things a lot. Like, what am I doing? Why am I, there's so many more things that are important out there in life. Why am I coming to work every day and just like, it just felt like, again, surviving.
Mhm.
Um, and so, and when you work for a large corporation, there's a lot of reorgs, there's a lot of just, constant change, which also is happening in my own life, right? So then I'm dealing with change not only in my day-to-day life, but also in my work
Right.
life. And so it just was kind of funny. I got to this point where I was like, oh my gosh, I should start a business because what if I lose my job? And then I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely shouldn't start a business because what if I lose my job? And so anyway, and then finally I got what I'll say, a more secure role at my current company. And then I literally that day did everything to start Grief and Joy. And it just was somehow like the catapult I needed to make me feel comfortable and confident to start moving this forward. And so that's where I'm at today.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a heart-wrenching story, but what a beautiful, you've made something beautiful out of it, right? Tell us about Grief and Joy. Tell us about the services you provide, the people you help.
Yeah. So I would say we're all about life transitions. And as you heard from my own personal story, I've been in the thick of that. And so it could be, widowhood, it can be retirement, it can be for women, menopause. That is such a shift for us, especially when we are in the working world. And caretaking, because that's another big thing that happens this period of life, and empty nesting. So, lots of different life transitions. And so, I support people in a few different ways. I offer a lot of humorous greeting cards and gifts that bring some levity to these life transitions because that's the other thing I realized and where the name Grief and Joy came from, to be honest. There are so many things that happen to us in this phase of life, but there's also a lot of goodness. And so, about 6 months after my husband passed, I realized that forever moving forward, my life was going to be this combination of grief and joy. And
Mm.
so I just started embracing that. And trying to bring that kind of lightheartedness to some of these transitions. Also, we are in the process of renovating a barn and turning it into an Airbnb on my property. And that's important for a lot of different reasons, but uh, it's a project that, or a dream I had with my late husband that I wanted to make become a reality. It's also a way for me to get to retirement more quickly
Mhm.
and move out of my, regular, I always refer to it as my jobby job. And then also, starting down the path of beginning to do some speaking engagements like this and other thing, larger groups, uh, and then also probably this fall, starting to offer some workshops in the barn for people going through life transitions. So lots of exciting things happening right now.
Yeah, wonderful. I love how you put those two things together. Uh, Remind us, sole owner in the businesses.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Everybody that we talk to, every business owner at some point in time, they're always growing through something, right? So, what are some of the things that you're growing through right now in this season of the business?
Well, many. And I share those regularly on my social media platforms because every when you're dealing with this hundred and over 100-year-old barn, we constantly are running into challenges and trying to figure out how to do certain things while maintaining the integrity and history of the barn, but also making it usable for for the future. So I could tell you so many examples of growth in that area. I'm also, as any small business owner, especially somebody who's doing this on their own, just balance. Like in trying to, I'm tackling a lot, and so trying to give myself grace as I take these ventures on and try to make them happen. And I tend to be a person that doesn't have a lot of patience, and you have to be incredibly patient in this journey. So that is definitely one of those things as well.
Yeah, wonderful. What's it look like? What's your vision look like when it's complete?
Yeah, well, so again, I have a timeline, so we'll see if this happens or not. But like my desire is to be able to at least go part-time or completely leave my jobby job within the next 2 years. And so by that point, obviously, I would love for our Airbnb that we are establishing in the lower level of the barn to be fully functioning and full. I'd love to be able to be doing speaking engagements and workshops on a more regular basis. So that's the goal is within that 2 year time frame to get to that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And how about grief and joy?
Yeah, so I think, as far as grief and joy goes, like that's all part of the plan. And I've say this to everybody, I'm not trying to build this to something extravagant, right? Like I am just trying to build this to the point that it helps generate enough revenue for me to do the things that I want and actually brings me joy with the work that I'm doing.
Yeah,
And so that's ultimately the goal.
beautiful, beautiful. Tell us about, I mean, you're having to learn so many things, marketing, sales, speaking, um, how to run an Airbnb. Tell us about everyone wants to know about marketing. What are some of the things creative things that you're doing in the marketing space to grow the businesses, even though you're new?
Yeah.
And even part of the vision isn't complete yet, but tell us some of the things that you're doing to promote yourself and the services that you offer.
Sure. Well, so I was lucky enough to come from a little bit of a marketing background previously. So I had some knowledge in that space, although I'll say, right, in today's world, technology and how platforms work evolve very quickly, as everyone knows. So So definitely having to like relearn some things and try some things different. But honestly, I think that's the big key is just trying different things and seeing what works. And so I always think of it like problem solving, right? You are trying a platform. So like right for me right now, Facebook tends to be the most engaging audience that I have, although I've just started on YouTube with sharing three different, I have three different playlists that I'm working on. So I have a What Nobody Tells You series where I'm personally interviewing individuals going through life transitions and sharing that with others ultimately so that they know they're not alone. I also have a playlist about building our next chapter where I feature all of the funny and just all the activities associated with the barn project because that is entertaining. And then I have a Founder Reflections playlist where I personally share my own stories about widowhood, empty nesting, menopause, anything like that. So again, getting creative with the different platforms that are available and trying to connect with audiences in a personal way.
Yeah. What's something you want people to know about you and about your businesses?
Well, I always say like it sometimes when people look at it, it doesn't make sense. And I get that. And so that's one of the things, like there's a combination of things that I'm doing, and it all makes sense to me. But when I think about it, right, it's about that personal connection, no matter, where it is, whether it's on social media, but also what we're doing with our barn project. So the intent again is to have the lower level be an Airbnb. And I know I can't show you here the pictures of what my property is like, but it's very peaceful. And
Yeah.
I'll just say like it's a great place for people to like come and pause and maybe if they're going through some of these life transitions, take a moment to kind of think through, okay, where do I need to go next, right? So I feel like my property and what we offer here is pretty special. And so that ties into also what we're doing with Grief and Joy. And then the upper level of our barn is a larger space that right now I intend to use for those workshops. So same kind of thing,
Yeah.
bringing it all together. And then we do even host our own kind of family and friends events up there as well. So that like the last weekend we hosted a 50th anniversary for some friends.
Yeah. Fun,
Ties
fun.
together, but not everybody sees that on the surface.
Wonderful. And I think we are going to try to grab some pictures and some video to throw in here so we can show our guests what the barn looks like. So I'll grab those.
Great.
Wonderful. We've talked about where you're at. We've talked about where you're headed. What's between here and there? What's it going to take? And what are some of the obstacles you think you're going to have to overcome?
Um, well, time is always a major obstacle since I'm
Yeah.
still working full time and trying to do this grow grief and joy on the side. So that definitely is an obstacle. And then, like I said, the challenges that we've run into with the barn, and I'll hit on a couple. When we first started this last calendar year working on the inside, we had a major bat problem that we had to mitigate and could not find anyone to help us with that. And so we ended up tackling that on our own. And then even like literally this week, one of the things we're doing is creating a exposed limestone wall shower in the lower level of the barn. And so we attempted to build, um, my contractor is calling it wing walls to allow us to have something to attach the glass shower wall to. And the
Yeah.
first time they attempted to build the walls, they took the forms off and it just crumbled apart. And so then it was like, okay, back to the drawing board. And second time it worked. So now, today, as a matter of fact, the glass people will be out to take some
Oh,
measurements
wow.
that ordered, but it's never ending. So, like, literally, almost every project within the barn is kind of like that.
You're trailblazing. You're doing things that have never been done before.
So it feels like it a lot of days, yes.
That's exciting. Who does grief and joy serve best? And who do you see the Airbnb serving best? We talked about transitions, but tell us more about that.
Yeah. So when I originally started Grief and Joy, my target market was definitely women in midlife. And it still is. That's the market that I serve the best. Although surprisingly, I have had a lot of men also that have resonated with the content and who have reached out to me personally, especially like some examples are some people who have lost their parents and who are trying to navigate, how do I maintain their legacy, but do make the decisions I need to make. And so it's just been fascinating to see how it's connected with different audiences, but
Yeah.
again, ideally or mostly focused on women.
Yeah. There aren't those resources out there for men though, right?
No,
I mean,
no.
it's new for women, some of these conversations, but it's really, really new and infrequent for men. So I can absolutely see how they would be reaching out and looking for some resources.
And they love the barn project. That's the other thing.
Ah, yeah.
Well, so a lot of times the men have been the ones that have been messaging me about, oh, well, how are you? What kind of sealer are you putting on that limestone wall? And so there's lots of questions like that that I get too. So
Oh
it is
my gosh, you could have your own HGTV show too.
right. Yeah.
That's fun. When do you think it will be done? And how many rooms, how many people will it sleep?
Yeah, so our goal was to have it up and running by the end of this calendar year, and I'm still feeling pretty good about that. We have a ways to go, but I think we'll make that. So the lower level is intended to be just that studio suite. It really is just intended for 1 to 2 people. Again, peaceful, quiet, enjoy the beauty of the surroundings, take it all in. That's it for the Airbnb. Our upper level, when we have used it for events for our family and friends, comfortably, probably up to about 50 people is what we
Okay.
can accommodate in the upper level.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Ready for some rapid fire questions?
Sure.
All right. What's the key to success for you?
I think there's a couple actually. I think creativity and willingness to take some risks is pretty key. And then I would also say just my relationships and the support that I feel, both from my own network, but then also just the Grief and Joy, I call it the Grief and Joy Club, uh, just the community of people who have come together and like every time I feel like maybe like if you start to even question yourself a little bit, then somebody messages me or somebody makes a comment on one of the posts and it just completely reinforces what I'm doing. So that part is very
Yeah.
I feel like that's a key for me personally.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to that, right? I've had that very same experience the days where I feel like, are you sure? And then something happens and you're like, yep, this is where I'm meant to be. So I
Yeah.
absolutely get that. What's one piece of advice you have for others taking this journey, for other business owners?
Well, I literally said this to one of my friends and coworkers this week. I was like, you got to get out of your own way. It's easy to get up here and like let stuff spin or really like again, question yourself.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I've always been a pretty confident person. I would say after losing my husband, that confidence went away for quite a while. That was a new
Wow.
experience for me where I was, because again, you're kind of like refinding yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
And in the last year or two, that confidence has started to come back. And so I do think, just try something and get out of your own way is probably the best advice I can give people.
I love it. How long were you married?
20, 23 years before he passed.
Yeah. It's a lot of identity wrapped up in, right? Another
Yes.
person. So that makes complete sense.
Yes, we in fact met when we were in high school. So I had been dating him since I was
Wow.
15. So,
Oh, wow.
so it was, it was really the only life I knew.
Yeah. Wow. Good for you for making the choices and pushing yourself to re-identify. That's beautiful. This is probably an interesting one for you. What's a book that you're reading or podcast that you're listening to?
Yeah. So I brought the book with me. This is a book that my manager at my jobby job, because he knows what I'm working on. So he actually sent me this book
Oh, wow.
when he knew, when we've talked a little bit about what I'm doing. And I started reading it this week, and I don't know if you could read the smaller part, but it's basically from strength to strength, finding success, happiness, and deep purpose in the second half of your life. And so obviously that is what I'm doing for myself, and that is what I want to help other people do. And so I'm about a quarter of the way through it so far, but so far I love it.
Oh, wonderful. I'm going to grab that. Here's a fun question. If you had a little bit of magic dust and you could sprinkle it in one part of the business and make it grow and blossom, where would you sprinkle it?
I would love to be able to really grow the speaking engagement side of the business and workshops. So I'm just at that point where I'm starting to think about those things more and plan them. And so anything I can do to like sprinkle that dust and make it grow would be amazing.
Awesome. It's a great lead into after people are watching this, they're going to want to learn more. They're going to want to book you for engagements. So how can they find you?
Yeah, so please visit our website, griefandjoy.net. And we have lots of ways you can join the club, the Grief and Joy Club, by subscribing to our newsletter. That really is the best way to stay in touch with everything that we do. And but you'll find our uh, humorous greeting cards and gifts on there. You'll find ways for to follow us on our YouTube channel and all of that. So everything you need is right there.
Griefandjoy.net. Love it. All right. Final question of the day. Feel free to elaborate. What's inspiring you most today?
I honestly, it's the reactions that I get from people is really the most yeah, inspiring thing. And it doesn't matter what the topic is, whether it's, funny greeting cards where people are like, OMG, that is the perfect way to say that. Um, or if it's, a comment to a blog or one of our podcasts. So it really just is that. And so that again is inspiring for me to know that what I'm doing is resonating with others.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Anything else you want us to know about Grief Joy, the Airbnb before we sign off today?
The only thing I'll add is like for some people who haven't experienced some of these transitions yet, they'll probably be like, I don't get it. I don't understand what they're talking about. Uh, but what I tell people all the time is you will, because
Yeah.
you will experience one of these. And it doesn't matter, what it is. You will lose someone in your life at some point that's important to you. You'll have to figure out how to move forward. You might experience a job change, a career
Mhm.
change where you get restructured out. You might again have your kids leave home and not know what to do because you spent the last 18 years devoting your entire life to keeping those little people alive. So, it's just it will come. And
Yeah.
so when it happens, you might find out that grief and joy makes sense to you.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I say that a lot, particularly with clients, but with friends too. Grief comes in different forms. Anytime we're changing, even if it's a good change,
Yes.
there's a grief process that goes on. Anytime you're letting go of something that you're used to and it's comfortable and it's the past, there's a grieving process, whether sometimes we don't even notice it, right?
Right.
But there's a grieving process that happens. So I think that was probably one of the many big lessons I used learned in college and grad school, right? Was Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and the Stages of Grief.
Yeah.
I reference it all the time.
Yep.
Another incredible book that if you're if you're learning and going through these stages, another incredible book that you may want to grab.
Yep. And the other, I guess, even thinking about that a little bit more too, I also tell people like there's no right or wrong way to do these things. And, each person's journey is unique to them. And uh, I hear from a lot of the people I interview for my own podcasts that what's interesting is how other people respond to their journeys. And, so I just do encourage people to remember like each person has their own unique journey in whatever transition they're facing. So
Yeah.
try to give people that space to do that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, this was a really, really fun conversation today. Thanks for being here, Mindy. For those of you watching, save this show, come back, reach out to Mindy if this resonates with you, if you're in this space or if you find yourself in this space. She dropped some really great insight, and I know she does. And follow her on her podcast as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that every time we drop a new episode, which seems to be happening daily, lately you'll get notified of that. And Mindy, thanks for being with us today. This was a great conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me share my story with you.